Hi, people. In this segment, I'm going to be talking about free will. So, it's an interesting topic, and it's a topic that have been thought of by many people in the history. Sages, the Catholic Church, just about every single religion, you can find writings about free will. So, if we think about it, what is so interesting about free will? Why do people spend time thinking about it? Well, it's very interesting because the issue of free will leads directly into the question of what is God, what is our relationship with God, and what is our relationship with ourselves. The fact that we can determine what will happen to us next. So I'd like to begin the discussion on free will with some physics questions. Primarily, what is randomness? And you'll see how this leads into the free will discussion. So I'd like to ask the question, what is random? Is there anything that's random in this world? I'm sure the answer for many of you is yes. Wow, the economy is bad. Some guy got hit by a car this morning. Those are seemingly random event. Well, let me put it in this perspective. About 1,000 years ago, people think many things are random. Weather is the most random thing. People don't know when it's going to rain. They do know that during rainy seasons, rain tend to come more often, but they don't know why and exactly how. Many religions attribute this to gods, and the Aztecs are known to sacrifice people in order to pray for additional rain. But today we know that the weather is not random. Matter of fact, it's not random at all. Our weather forecast can predict weather to about 95% accuracy these days. We can say, this afternoon at 2 p.m. there's going to be a shower, and we're expecting a very dry season coming up, or the monsoon is going to hit because we see on the weather satellite this big whirlwind moving towards India. So weather has become a lot less random than it used to be. Even though we still cannot exactly predict at what second it's going to rain, and our model has flaws. We cannot predict with 100% accuracy of what exactly will happen. We will be able to say with a high degree of confidence what the weather is going to be like. Considering a few more examples. 100 years ago, scientists used to believe that the path of a hydrogen atom in the atmosphere is totally random. The hydrogen atom will bounce up, down, up, down, up, down, and there is no way of predicting how that hydrogen atom will travel. Well, today, we still cannot predict exactly how the hydrogen atom will travel, but given enough information in a contained atmosphere, we can predict with high degree of accuracy what this hydrogen atom, how this hydrogen atom will behave. What else is deemed random? Flipping a coin. Theoretically, if you flip a coin 100 times, the chance of a head and the chance of a tail, it should be 50-50. And we say it's a random event. However, is it really random? When I say flip a coin, if you flip an American quarter, the side with that's a little bit heavier tend to end up on the bottom. So the side that's a little bit lighter end up on the top. If you use a perfect coin with no engravings on each side, you paint one side red and one side blue, and you flip it, then the probability of getting a 50-50 is much higher. However, lots of factors influence the outcome. So for example, the strength of you flipping the coin, how many rotations does the coin fly in the air, the temperature, the wind, all sorts of things. So nowadays, if you want something that's truly approaching 50-50 probability, you use a computer. A computer-generated sequence of number will very likely to generate, for example, 10,000 numbers, and the probability of hitting exactly 50%, it's almost certain. So for example, if you get computer to generate 10,000 numbers, you will get 49.999% head and 50.1001% tail, and that's pretty close to a high degree of randomness. And statistically speaking, it's statistically insignificant variance to say that this flipping of the coin is truly random. However, I actually looked this up. How did computer generate those random numbers? Well, it's not really exactly random. The computer used this pseudo-random generating algorithm in which generate a number that approaches a 50-50 percentile probability. However, it's not really random. And if we ask ourselves, what is really random in this world? Or is there really something that's random in this world? Well, the last thing I can think of that's approaching our frontier of understanding is our brain. I pick up this mouse, and 5 minutes ago, I did not know that I'm going to do this. And a year ago, I definitely don't know that I was going to do this. And yet, using my free will, I pick up the mouse, and it seems to be a random event. My memory, a lot of my memories are not there. I can't remember everything I did, in the last decade. But, every now and then I remember stuff that I don't remember, and it seems like it's very random. What I do in the future seems to have no bearing or very little bearing of what I do right now. Or is that the case? Not really, if you think about it. So, for example, technically it's possible for me to buy a gun and rob a bank. However, the chance of me actually doing that, it's about zero. Theoretically it's possible, but I won't do it. The same thing applies to I won't pick up a spoon and stab my friend in the chest, or I would not, go run naked down the street. These are things that are technically possible for me to do, but realistically, given who I am, has very little to zero chance of happening. So if you think about our actions in the future, it has a lot of bearing to who we are right now. So even technically, there are a lot of things I could be doing. My day tomorrow will resemble my day today because I am who I am, and I am very unlikely to do something that's out of ordinary. Well, given that thought pattern, I will still be going to work on Monday, so that will not be random. I will be taking the same metro, that won't be random. And I will be doing the same thing, which, knowing myself, will stay at a very low, a very set path. So I could be doing things that's 1 or 2 or even 3 standard deviations from what I normally do, but I guess the further I go, the more unlikely it's going to happen. So if you think about randomness, it's really a lack of information on our brain. 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, when the Aztec do not know what the weather is going to be, they think it's random. 100 years ago, when the scientists could not predict the path of a molecule in the air, to them it's random. But really, it's not random. It's just that we do not have enough information to make the right prediction. Today, very few people will say the weather is random, or many things which used to be considered random. So the heart of this argument is that randomness is really an illusion. Randomness is our lack of information to predict future events. And so in order to rationalize what happened, we say it's random. Whereas if we have perfect information, my actions should be very predictable. If we have perfect information, the stock market should be very predictable. Matter of fact, on the Wall Street, many hedge fund traders make their money by building a model. The more you can perfect this model, the more you can predict to a high degree of accuracy what will happen in the future, the higher the probability that you will make, millions and millions of dollars. So why do I say, why do I talk about randomness? What does this have to do with free will? Well, if you think about it, if randomness means just an illusion of our head and that there is no randomness, if there is one path to the future, and because we cannot predict what's going to happen in the future, we call it random, then we can say that about our free will. So for example, if there is already one path to the future, what we do is predetermined. Or you know what, predetermined is a bad word, but what we do is set in which I choose to pick up this cute toy. But if there is already one future, then my decision to pick up this panda toy at that exact moment would have happened no matter what. Now, religion around the world have struggled with this for centuries. And if you read text from major religious groups, there are lots of writings on randomness. So in Islam, it's called maktab, which loosely translates into it's written. The idea is that whatever you do has already been written in the book of God, and you do that to fulfill the will of God. And in Hinduism, there is a very similar concept. In the Bhagavad Gita, when the warrior doubts whether he should kill his enemy, God, Krishna, assured him that those who supposed to die will die, and you killing them is basically fulfilling, the flow of time. So even though you actually killed these enemies, it's actually God who killed these enemies. And again, similar writing can be found in Judaism, Christianity, even Mormonism. So the big question is, so what? Okay, so if there is one future and the future is determined, what does that have anything to do with, what's the significance of that? That will be just a circular argument in which I have the free will to do whatever in the future. And even if it's set, it doesn't affect a thing. Well, in the next segment, I'm going to be talking about how free will and its interconnectedness with the greater cosmos is, determines our relationship with God. So that's a whole different topic. So I'm going to use an entire segment to talk about it. So let's go back to the free will example.